In the millions of things you could notice in every moment, you'll notice only what your unconscious mind is trying to show you. Therefore, if you have been paying a lot of attention to babies lately, you'll notice everything about babies in the room you happen to be sitting in. The color of fabric might remind you of baby clothes. Certain phrases might pop out that remind you of babies, or scents you might notice in the air might smell like babies. Our brains are hardwired to gather evidence based on what we're currently focused on, even unconsciously. And the more we focus on something, the more we'll notice it. So this goes with perceived negativity and positivity. I believe I have said in previous lessons that perceiving something to be positive or negative is a judgment whose nuance does not exist on the level of the absolute. So let me explain that. In other words, the higher state of mind is meant to analyze information in complete neutrality without coloring it with a bias. So if you place what you perceive to be good things and bad things into separate categories, this is a form of judgment. And by doing so, you're doing yourself a disservice. When you color your world with judgment, you're not allowing yourself to see what is happening on a higher level. And the goal here is to see things on a higher level. So begin to carefully look at why you'd feel the need to place things in this is good or this is bad category. Does it come from your past? Does it come from society? Does it come from fear? There are ways to keep yourself in integrity with the world that does not involve making judgments on what's good and what's bad. The same goes for symbol analysis. It is best when you analyze your symbols to do so in neutrality and have only an agenda to understand the truth. This will stop you from coloring your analysis with a false reading for yourself. Bottom line, do not be afraid to look at the truth of what these symbols are trying to teach you. Otherwise, you'll miss the gift. Because we are powerful spirits with the gift of masterful manifestation, we can project our life lessons into our physical existence. Symbolism is an extremely intelligent way to communicate. What can be said in a single picture can take up pages of analysis. It's simply more effective to communicate with symbols, which is why it is the chosen language of our higher selves. Our higher selves don't just point the way in our dreams, but continually point the way while we're awake by throwing symbols our way that we would notice. And when you do notice them, take the time to write them down so you can receive the message. I would also like to point out that this type of language and communication, I'm talking about symbolism, is seen in ritual, in religions, in birthdays, in magic practices, in music, in movies, and everything else we have created. Here's the thing. The best way to effect change with our highest selves is by communicating in their primary language. Just like we would like our highest selves to tell us what our guidance is in plain English or whatever language we are most comfortable with utilizing. However, the language of our highest selves is symbolism, and just like us, it prefers to be spoken to with symbols. Now, religions figured this out a long time ago, whether they were conscious of it or not, through ritual and symbols. Witchcraft and sorcery figured this out completely, as the basis of their practices were all reliant on communicating with symbols through ritual to effect dramatic change. The truth is, this type of communication works, and it works very well. In order to communicate with your higher self properly, it is not necessary to perform any type of pre-created practice such as magic or religion. There is a much more basic way that is effective that you can start out doing that is simple, basic communication between you and your higher self. This can start with simple noticing and analyzing of symbols in your dreams and your waking life. As you get into the practice of it, you'll get better at it and grow in relationship between you and your highest self, which is the goal. The end game with it all is in realizing that you are in fact your highest self and that you were never separate beings to begin with. Freely experiencing that unity takes time, but it's strengthened with this kind of practice, as it offers you the ability to communicate with each other without boundaries. Other avenues open up as this avenue is mastered and explored.